Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, today I wanted to talk to you about an additional $4,644 per month in your pocket. That would be extremely helpful. And not only that, it's tax-free, right? So similar to our VA disability compensation. Now, once you're rated with the VA, a whole host of other things start to open up, right? Now, one of those things is VR&E, that's Veterans Readiness and Employment. Now, typically, there is a monthly stipend that's attached to that, and many people just believe that that's all that's there. Now, this stipend is called a subsistence allowance, and it is about $1,000 per month, depending on, dependents and all that stuff. And I'll jump into those rates a little bit later, the exact numbers. But I wanted to talk to you in this video about how to increase that monthly dollar amount, we'll call it an enhanced stipend. I don't really know exactly what they call it, but you can get up to $4,644. At least that's what I believe is the highest that I could find. I mean, there could be another one, I don't know. But this is probably the maximum. So basically, you would be somewhere between the $1,000 subsistence allowance and the $4,644, depending on where you're going to school and all that good stuff. So with that, I want to jump into this, share this with you so you understand how VR&E works and how you can take advantage of it and get the most money out of it while you're in it. So with that, hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. It helps to get this information into the hands of those that need it. So if you're not a member, consider joining. It really helps the channel, and it helps me to find you in the comments as well. So thanks so much to all you members. I really appreciate each and every one of you. So VR&E, we're going to give a little kind of snapshot of Veterans Readiness and Employment, what it entails, what it looks like, the eligibility, how much the monthly subsistence allowance is, and then how you can get that additional bump and basically quadruple the amount of money that you're receiving while in that program. So for veterans, I'm reading this from the VA's website. For veterans and service members, you may receive Veteran Readiness and Employment, formerly known as Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment services, to help you with job training, education, employment accommodations, resume development, and job-seeking skills coaching. Other services may be provided to assist veterans and service members in starting their own business. Interesting. Or independent living services for those who are severely disabled and unable to work in a traditional employment. To learn more about the VR&E program, review the VR&E process page, and there's a link and tabs and blah, blah. So let's move on to the next thing here that I pulled up for us, and that is, again, on the VA's website. So VR&E support and services tracks. If you are a veteran or service member with a service-connected disability that impacts your ability to work. First nugget, right? That's a big nugget there. If you apply for VR&E, in your mind, you better be speaking to what qualifies you, which is veteran or service member with a service-connected disability that impacts your ability to work. So your service-connected disability or disabilities are impacting your ability to work in whatever specific field that you're in, right? So if you were a painter, right, let's say an artist, and you sold your paintings, and then you lost use of your right hand, which was your dominant hand, and now you can no longer paint. That service-connected, and it was service-connected, the loss of use, would obviously impact your ability to work as a painter anymore, right? So anyway, the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program, formerly called Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment, may be able to help. We offer 5 support and services tracks to help you get the education or training, find and keep a job, and live as independently as possible. Explore the different tracks and find out how to apply for benefits and services. And I believe you can just apply on va.gov for VR&E. That's how I did it back in the day when I applied. Oh, by the way, applied once, denied, applied twice, denied, applied 3 times, finally got approved. So I don't really like how their process works. should be a little bit more standard for everyone. But anyway, reemployment track is one. If you're a veteran with a service-connected disability, the reemployment track can help you return to your former job and support your employer in meeting your needs. Rapid access to employment track. If you want to find a job or career that uses your existing skill set, not your old skill set, your existing skill set, the rapid access to employment track can help you with your job search. Self-employment track. If you're a service member or veteran with a service-connected disability and employment barrier, the self-employment track can help you start your own business. Employment through long-term services track. If you have a service-connected disability and employment barrier, we can help you get the education and training you need to find work in a different field. Independent living track. If you can't return to work right away, you may qualify for services that can help you live as independently as possible. So those are the tracks. Now, as far as your eligibility is concerned, let me pull that up here for us. So eligibility for Veteran Readiness and Employment. Learn about eligibility requirements for Veteran Readiness and Employment. And now what's going to happen is we'll go through this. If you're eligible and then they find you, and they accept you into the program, then we're going to go through the dollar amounts for that subsistence allowance, depending on if you're full-time and your dependent status, and then how to get to that $4,600 and change. So learn about eligibility requirements for Veteran Readiness and Employment, formerly called Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment. If you're a service member or veteran and have a disability that was caused or made worse by your active duty service, and that limits your ability to work and prevent you from working, you may be able to get employment support or services to help you live as independently as possible. If I'm a veteran, am I eligible for Veteran Readiness and Employment? You're eligible to apply for Veteran Readiness and Employment, VR&E benefits and services if you meet both these requirements. All of these must be true. It's 2 bullets. You did not receive a dishonorable discharge. You have a service-connected disability rating of at least 10% from VA. Then it goes on here and it says, when we receive your VR&E application, we'll schedule your initial evaluation with a Voc Rehab Counselor. The counselor will determine if you're entitled to receive VR&E benefits and services. Now, quick side note, these are people. You're talking to a person, your story is going to resonate or not with them, and this person then has to make the decision of whether or not you're entitled to the program. So, again, my circumstance, I was denied the first 2 times, and it took the 3rd time to actually get it through. So, it's frustrating, but if this is something you want to get into and you're denied the first time, try to take a knee, dust it off, and re-engage. So, if you were discharged from active duty before January 1st, 2013, your basic period of eligibility ends 12 years from one of these dates, whichever comes later. The date you received notice of your date of separation from active duty, or the date you received your first VA service-connected disability rating. The date you first received your VA service-connected disability rating. The basic period of eligibility may be extended if the counselor finds that you have serious employment handicap. Having a serious employment handicap means your service-connected disability significantly limits your ability to prepare for, obtain, and maintain suitable employment. A job that doesn't make your disability worse is stable and matches your ability, aptitude, and interests. If you were discharged from active duty on or before, if you were discharged from active duty on or after January 1st, 2013, the 12-year basic period of eligibility does not apply to you. There is no limit on your eligibility. If I am still on active duty, am I eligible for Veteran Readiness and Employment? And the answer is yes, and these must be true. So one of these must be true. You have a 20% or higher pre-discharge disability rating, and you will soon leave the military, or you're waiting to be just discharged because of a severe illness or injury that occurred while you were on active duty. So now let's jump into the dollar amounts here real quick. So the dollar amounts for the the stipend, the subsistence allowance. If you're going, and I'm only going to go through full-time. So if you're a full-time student, we'll just use this one as the example here. With no dependents, it's $768.42. If you have one dependent, it's $953.15. If you have two dependents, it's $1,123.23. If you have additional dependents, it's $81.85 per dependent. Now, how can you bump it up higher than that? If you have any amount of post 9/11 GI Bill remaining for you, meaning that you didn't use it all or you didn't give it all to dependents, right? So if you have anything left, if you have a day's worth, a month's worth, a week's worth, whatever, if you have any amount of post 9/11 GI Bill remaining, VR&E will then utilize the basic allowance for housing rates for you as an E5 with dependents. And the example I'm giving is the San Francisco rate. So the basic housing allowance or allowance for housing in San Francisco as an E5 with dependents is $4,644 per month. Now, obviously, if you're in Texas, it's going to be different. If you're in New York, it's going to be different. If you're in Oklahoma, it's going to be different. If you're in Colorado somewhere, it's going to be different. If you're in Utah, right? So depending on where you're at and all that stuff would make a change to that. But I would venture to say in most cases, probably not all, but in most cases, your post 9/11 GI Bill segue in to get that continued on. It's going to mirror it, doesn't use it. Okay, so that's important to understand. That if you have 1 month's worth of post 9/11, but you're in Voc Rehab or VR&E for 3 years, you're going to get that post 9/11 BAH for 3 years, even though you only had 1 month. They just take it, mirror it, and run on with it. So very, very important. If you get rid of it all, then you're absolutely stuck at the subsistence allowance, and that is going to be your rate. And now what I was getting ready to say a minute ago was in most cases, your BAH rate will be higher than the subsistence allowance. So, but look into it. In any case, want to just make sure that I shed a little light on that program for you. I hope that you picked up a couple things in there. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.